We will now start the regular press conference by Foreign Minister Motegi. The floor is yours, Minister. I have 2 points to raise. First, on North Korea. North Korea fired what could possibly be a ballistic missile eastward from the interior of North Korea at around 6:38 a.m. today. The details are currently being analyzed. The series of actions by North Korea, including the repeated launches of ballistic missiles and other missiles to date, threaten the peace and security of Japan and the region, and are a serious threat to the international community as a whole, including Japan. Last week, I attended a meeting of the foreign ministers of Japan, the United States, and South Korea in New York, and we confirmed that we will further promote cooperation between the 3 countries with a view to strengthening diplomatic efforts, fully implementing Security Council resolutions, and strengthening regional deterrence toward the complete denuclearization of North Korea. We will continue to work closely with the United States and other countries concerned.
There's another point. This is concerning the UK-Japan Reciprocal Access Agreement. Both UK and Japan will start negotiations to conclude the Reciprocal Access Agreement. Both UK and Japan are global strategic partners who share basic values such as freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. This month, UK carrier Queen Elizabeth called at the Japanese port. Both countries have been strengthening national security and defense cooperation. The UK-Japan Reciprocal Access Agreement is a legal framework meant to further elevate national security and defense cooperation of both countries and will contribute to strengthening both countries' cooperations for the realization of the free and open Indo-Pacific. We aim to reach early agreement, and we will start the first round of negotiations on October 7th. That is all for me. Thank you.
We'd like to start the Q&A. If you have a question, please raise your hand. And after you're called upon, please proceed to the nearest microphone and state your name and affiliation before you state your question. So please go ahead. NHK, please. Yamamoto from NHK on North Korea. Have you protested to North Korea? We have already protested. But before that, regarding the former civilian workers of the Korean Peninsula, sorry, you're talking about North Korea. On North Korea, we haven't confirmed, but what the object is still being confirmed. Once it is confirmed, and if it's something of a threat to Japan, naturally we would protest.
Now, talking about Japan-Korea. So, yesterday, the Korean District Court ruled for the sales of Mitsubishi Heavy assets. And have we protested? Yes, concerning this, we have protested. Concerning the report, we are aware of this. And as we have been repeatedly saying, concerning the former Korean laborers, the ruling from the Supreme Court of Korea, as well as the related legal procedures, these are clearly violation of international law. And also concerning the liquidation and monetization, we must avoid serious impact on both Japan and Korea relations. And this has been repeatedly communicated to Japan from South Korea. Last week, when I went to the U.S. General Assembly meeting in New York, we had Japan-Korea foreign ministers meeting, and I also told Foreign Minister Chung that this needs to be avoided, and we have strongly insisted that appropriate measures be taken by South Korea. Now, concerning South Korea, they understand our position, of course, but despite that, there was such movement as was reported. This is truly regrettable. And last evening in Seoul. We protested, and also this morning as well in Tokyo. We called upon the Vice Chancellor of the Korean Embassy, and we have strongly insisted that appropriate measures be taken. Now, concerning the related company, we understand that they will be immediately appealing to this. And inclusive of the rectification of the violation of international law by Korea, we will strongly insist that there will be a solution that can be accepted by Japan.
Further questions, please. Please. I have a question to Minister Motegi. I'm from BBC. What is it? Excuse me? My name is BBC. Hantaiji Chugokugo is Hantaiji Chinese is the name of the newspaper. UK BBC Hantaiji Chinese. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm hearing you. He is from BBC. Is it the broadcasting company BBC? From Japan.com. My name is Chung. So it was your name that you mentioned. Thank you for your cooperation. Japan has, I'd like to ask about Taiwan's application to join the TPP. Officially, Taiwan has applied to join the TPP, and Japan has welcomed this. Taiwan is a free and democratic country, but they still have restrictions on imports of food produced in Fukushima. In the Taiwanese society, they're still concerned about radiation. How do you gain their understanding? And with regarding to the lifting of restrictions, is there a possibility for further negotiations? Could I have your thoughts on this, please? First, Taiwan and espouses freedom and democracy and rule of law. We have the same values, and we have a very close economic relationship. And Taiwan is a very important country and partner to us. And Taiwan has applied to join the TPP for a free and open, high-standard economic standard. To create such an economic zone throughout the world is the objective of the TPP, and the application is in line with this, and we welcome that. Of course, this applies to the UK as well. In joining the TPP, TPP's high standard rules and others, whether they will be properly accepted or not is something that we have to discern. And having said that, with regard to the lifting of restrictions on Japanese-produced foods, it's one of the most important priority items for us. The import restrictions on Japan imposed by Taiwan to the various regions, we have said that the Japanese food is safe based on scientific grounds, and we have explained that. And an early lifting of the restrictions is something that we've called upon at an early point in time. And so this is an item of foremost importance to the government. And there is an increase in regions lifting restrictions. And for the Taiwanese to understand about the safety of Japanese food, and so that this will feed into early lifting of regulations through the Japan-Taiwan Exchange Association and other opportunities. We'd like to avail ourselves of all opportunities to tenaciously work on the country. Thank you.
The News.
The Japanese government named North Korea along with China and Russia as cybersecurity threats in a draft strategy adopted last Monday. How would that impact Japan's security, and what response you have in mind for that threat? Thank you.
Now, first of all, concerning national security, the realm related to national security has broadened. In a classic traditional way of national security, there is cyber and also space. So security in those areas are now becoming increasingly important. And amongst that, the national security environment surrounding Japan, inclusive of these areas, it is becoming increasingly severe. China, Russia, North Korea authorities are suspected in involving in various cyber activities. So in cyberspace as well, there is competition amongst nations, and the uncertainty of international order is has been increasing recently. And as the Japanese government, as you say, based on the new cybersecurity strategy, we will continue to secure cybersecurity so that the Japanese national security will be robust, and the government will work as one to secure the use of free, fair, and safe cyberspace.
Are there other questions? Please. Yamamoto from NHK. Regarding tomorrow, there will be an LDP presidential election. As a member of the faction, how would you respond? And you personally, which candidate would you endorse? It is tomorrow, finally, LDP presidential elections. Votes will be opened, will be cast and opened. 4 candidates have announced their candidacy, and they have deepened policy theories that they have. On the part of our group, with regard to the presidential election this time, that it is open, and within the group, the position each candidate finds himself, and his thoughts we'd like to respect. And as a group, we'd like to unite as much as possible in responding. That is the basic thinking. But based on this, we have conducted various exchanges of views, and we have conducted interviews individually, and we have repeated this process. And as a result, the majority said they want to support Mr. Kishida. And that is how it turned out. With regard to the direction of the group as a whole, of course, each individual candidate, each individual has candidates they want to support. But because this is voluntary, to randomly vote for all 4 candidates, and it's not that we don't know who people will be voting for within the faction. Most of the faction members said that they would support Kishida, or some have said that they want to respect the intent of the faction in supporting Kishida. It's not as if we're all dispersed. And not united. The majority support Kishida, and the direction is now clearly established. Exchanges of views have taken place, and in this process, the thinking that people want to support Kishida came out, and the reason is because pollution and other important issues, COVID issues, and very important issues for the government to unite to deal with COVID measures and others. We need to make an all-out effort. We have to spread the wings of the LDP, and from the veterans, experienced persons, including the use of younger members, we want to feel that for this purpose, the key lies in Mr. Kishida. The House of Representatives elections are coming up, and next year there will be the ordinary session of the Diet, and next summer there's the Upper House, House of Councillors elections. We'd like to keep all of this into the picture, so to think about how we can make a stable government. So from this standpoint, there are a lot of views expressing support for Kishida, and regarding these two points, I completely share these views.
Thank you. With this, we'd like to close the meeting. Thank you all very much.